Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I'm getting to this walk and talk late today because I was volunteering at an Earth Day cleanup and planting event. I want to thank everyone who submitted questions for the AMA today. I can't answer all of the questions I received because this would end up being like a 3-hour video. There were so many questions. So I had to choose just a few. I'll try to answer any other questions that didn't make it into today's walk and talk directly to the people who asked. Okay, so let's get right into it. I also neglected to ask if folks wanted themselves identified, so I'm going to default to keeping questioners anonymous, just out of respect for their privacy. Okay, here it is. So the Crescent Park building project and the future of the Oldham building on Bullocks Point Ave have been topics at recent council meetings. How would you approach redevelopment decisions that affect the character of East Providence waterfront and neighborhoods? And how would you prioritize collaboration between the City Council and East Providence Schools to support families in Ward 1? All right, thank you for the question. It's a good one. Let me first say that a neighborhood's character is facilitated by development and design, but ultimately it's determined by the people who live, work, and play there. By creating an environment that encourages a diverse community with accessible homes, accessible transportation, and access to safe recreation that makes the most of, in this case, the waterfront, then the character will shape itself out of that community. Retail follows people. Entertainment follows people. Now, I will say that good planning can guide the type of activities. And I have my personal preferences for what I like, but ultimately, what I like is less important than what the people attracted by the accessibility that government encourages. That determines their neighborhood's character. As long as people are warm, safe, dry, and not priced out of a home in our community, it's up to them to shape the character. With regard to the old Oldham on Bullocks Point Avenue, that's a touchy subject. Personally, I would like to see the property used for housing. Right now, if a property can be used for affordable housing, I believe it should be used for affordable housing. That said, I don't think that's the plan. I think the council has determined to call for RFQs for the space to be renovated as a small business incubator. Not a bad plan, not my personal preference. As far as I know, only one developer has submitted. To my understanding, that property needs a lot of work to simply be safe for the public. But I have to CMOA by admitting that my information on the building is secondhand. I know a new roof was put on about a year or so ago. Concerning collaboration between the City Council and the school committee, I am of the opinion that the best way to get on the same page with what are the most pressing needs of the educational system in Ward 1 and throughout the city is to have open communication with the teachers. Teachers are the ones who are in those classrooms with the students. They know how they're learning. They know what they need. If both the City Council and the school committee are in communication with the teachers and the administration that will facilitate a better educational environment within Ward 1 and throughout the whole city. In Ward 1, we're very lucky to have Myron J. Francis. It is rated right around in the top 10 of elementary schools in the state. It's a fantastic school. Both of my kids went to public school, got across the road, at Myron J. Francis, and they got a top-notch public education there. What's the next question? Good to hear your thoughts on transportation in East Providence. Did you know the City Council just finished a new bicycle and pedestrian master plan? The plan outlines a vision for a comprehensive, low-stress walk-bike network and gives specific recommendations for short and long-term projects to connect our neighborhood to existing bicycle facilities like the East Bay Bike Path. We also have a new Safe Streets Plan for All Safety Action Plan, an SAP, which is a set of proposals for safe streets interventions that are eligible for federal funding. I would love to know what you think of these plans and to hear more about how you plan to help our community stay active. Active transportation equals a healthy community. Yes, I did know about the master plan. I was at a city council meeting a few months ago where a bike ped plan was presented as recommendations for best practices and broken down into spots where we can improve safety as soon as possible over the next 5 years and over the next 10 years and beyond. I was in Amsterdam more than 20 years ago, and that city has an intermodal transit plan that makes me drool with envy. Walking, biking, trams, cars, all moving together in and around each other with little incident. And that city has challenging geography too, more so than us, considering it's on a series of concentric canals. It can be done. But Amsterdam, like many European cities, made a decision about 80 years ago or so to invest in a transportation infrastructure that does not center around the car. The US did center ours around the car. So while I am personally all in on a plan to make our roadmap more bike pedestrian friendly, I also recognize that we are not drawing on a blank canvas. History didn't start yesterday for us. We have to change a generational cultural schema of roads being only for cars. And we have to be sensitive to the needs of a population. And there are older folks and disabled people for whom bikes or even walking are not an option. And finally, there's the federal government. Much of our city's grant funding comes from Rhode Island DOT, and much of their funding comes from the federal government. And the current administration seems to think that anything that doesn't burn coal or oil is somehow un-American. So they've placed restrictions on the grant funding for the bike ped master plan. What I'm trying to say is it's something that's so worth constant pressure to invest in. But we have to be prepared for it to be a long uphill campaign. No pun intended. It's not going to happen overnight. Here's the next question. I'm going to keep this short. I would love to flesh out disability issues and develop a platform of policies and positions. The disability policy I've worked on are nearly the same, whether it be in Denver, Greensboro, or DC. Let's talk and make change for disabled people and their families in Rhode Island. This questioner without divulging any specific personally identifying information, is somebody who advocates for disability policy. And it's such a valid concern. So before I get into it, I want to give credit to the recently approved inclusionary zoning policy that has a requirement that affordable units be ADA compliant. And grace has to be afforded to my opponent in my campaign, because he recently pushed to have sports fields in our ward renovated to allow for use by people with physical disabilities. Credit where credit is due. That said, disabled access is often the last issue of thought and the first cut made when budgets are proposed, unless there's a mandate. And of the roads that have sidewalks, and it's by no means all of them, they're often nearly impossible to navigate in a wheelchair, or they're obstructed by a patchwork of utility poles or of sidewalk ramps that are unfit for wheeling over. I can't tell you how many times I see a scooter loaded with groceries that's in the breakdown lane on Pawtucket Avenue. Vulnerable populations, such as those with disabilities. Hold on, let me get past the 8-cylinder weed whacker. All right, sorry about that. People with disabilities and vulnerable populations in general are taxed for their time. They're taxed for their healthcare needs, and they're often overwhelmed by groups who are louder and more visible and richer. But as a city, our budget is a moral document, and what we say about our policies is less important than what our policies say about us. And if we as a community claim to care about people with disabilities, then we need to put our money where our mouths are and invest in equity for all the people we claim to care about. Hey, those are all the questions I'm going to get to today. I think this is a great place to leave this. So I want to say again, thank you to everybody who submitted questions to the Ask Me Anything for this Friday's Walk and Talk. I made it just under the gun in my walk. It is just starting to rain. I encourage you to please go to Jacobs4ep.com. That's Jacobs, the number 4, ep.com. And I'm going to make a final ask here. I hate doing this. This is the worst part of this campaign. Please consider contributing to my campaign. If you like my ideas, if you think that I would be a positive change in the city of East Providence and in Ward 1, please go to my website, and it's real easy to do. You can do it through ActBlue, you can do it through credit card, you can mail me a check. But I implore you to please consider contributing, because unfortunately it is a necessary part of this campaign that I have some kind of money to keep going. Thanks everybody. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I look forward to seeing you soon. Last thing, food drive tomorrow. Throughout the city, East Providence Democratic City Committee has put together a food drive. Number of places throughout the city. You can go to the Facebook page for the East Providence Democratic City Committee, find out where you can contribute, because there are sites all around the city, one in each of the wards. And the one that I will be working at is right in the parking lot of Newman Congregational Church. That is tomorrow, Saturday, the 18th of April, between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. All right. Thanks so much.